informative. They do a lot of research, so I'm not even going to look up if any of this stuff is false or any of it is true or whatever. I'm pretty much going to look at it from a lens of somebody who is into crypto and how the parallels from crypto mining match up with AI and models and training models, etc. So I think that there are some pretty big parallels, and I think there's something to be learned if we look at this from the lens of crypto, because we've gone through this sort of bubble before with crypto, and now AI is going through the same thing, except for there's more support on the AI side because of what is perceived to be more value. So let's take a look at this. I'm going to play it. I'm just going to stop it whenever I have a comment. But yeah, let's get started.
If the land grab slowly limits housing, the energy crisis puts even more pressure on residents. And the numbers here are terrifying. 5 years ago, a standard server rack in a data center drew about 5 to 10 kilowatts of power. It was like running a few hair dryers. The modern NVIDIA rack, designed specifically for AI training, is a different beast. It requires over 100 kilowatts. That is a 10-fold increase in power density. It's the thermal equivalent of parking a space heater in every square foot of a warehouse and turning them up to maximum.
Right there. I don't want to make this super long, but that is a lot of energy being consumed. But if you were back into Ethereum mining, for example, back in 2015, 2016, and the height of 2017, 2018, before they went proof of stake, you would know that, NVIDIA and mining GPUs, right, instead of AI training with GPUs, consumed very considerable amounts to what AI is doing now. Now, there's a big old thing about how crypto was using a lot of energy and how that this would impact the environment. So it's really the same talking points. It's just different tech.
The US electrical grid was not built for this. It was built for a predictable world of air conditioners in the summer, lights at night, and it relies on baseload power, the steady, boring hum of electricity that you can count on. AI chips don't sleep. They run at 100% capacity, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So does crypto. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. If it's leap year, then, extra day. But yeah, literally it's the same thing.
In the PJM interconnection, the massive grid operator covering 13 states and 67 million people, this new demand is eating away at safety margins. The grid operates on a simple principle. Supply must exactly match demand every single second. To accommodate this, operators hold auctions to pay power plants to stay on standby. In 2024 to 2025, the cost of these capacity payments jumped by over $9 billion. Who pays the $9 billion? It's not Microsoft or Google, it's you.
So this is where I want to pause it again. I'm sorry for all the pausing, but I have a lot of commentary. Also, I don't want the video to be taken down, so I need the commentary, right? But this aspect of it, passing the cost down to the customer, and the customer that's not actually using the AI, right? Because if you're not using AI, how are you paying for it? Well, through your electricity. And when you have these data centers that are put up around your town, you're going to have to pay the extra cost to keep these data centers up and going. Now, there's other videos that you can watch about this. If it doesn't make any sense, it doesn't make sense to me, but that's just unfortunately how it is in the United States. I don't know about other areas in the world, but yeah, you're going to be fitting the bill for when these data centers come in. Now, what is interesting, again, this is about parallels to crypto. Yes, it's the same thing with crypto, but however, crypto wasn't really as popular as AI is. So while there were areas that had, bought old data centers and then put their mining rigs, ASICs, whatever, inside those data centers, it didn't really impact the surrounding area as much as AI is. And that's where, I kind of want to preface here that, AI is actually doing more damage than crypto ever did. And the value, or at least perceived value, isn't as great as what crypto offered. Now, there might be a lot of pushback in the comments because of what I just said, like, well, what about how I use my AI to code for me? Or what if I use my AI to do XYZ and make AI slop for me? Well, that's great and all, but again, the cost to it, right? And then there's really no value when you can do that and your friend can do that and your friend's friend can create something with it. But then if there's no real separation of how they do it versus how you do it, then the value of that product that you're making with AI is just not as valuable as somebody who, let's say, didn't use AI because they utilize their mind, their artistic skills, whatever, to create. So you're just another person pushing out something that you didn't even create, and then again that value goes down, versus like something like crypto, which has, maybe Bitcoin for example, has a finite supply. Yes, you're doing the same sort of thing where you're utilizing electricity, etc., but you have a finite thing. You have something that can't be easily reproduced. You must go through the mining process to do it. You can't just type in a prompt. And then the electricity at the same time, it's not as much as what AI is doing. So there are some parallels, but then there's also some more benefits of sticking on the crypto side. And that's kind of where I want this video to be. But anyways, let's keep it going.
Costs are passed directly to ratepayers as transmission and capacity charges. In Maryland and Ohio, projections show monthly bills jumping by $16 to $18. That isn't because someone left the lights on. It isn't because someone bought an electric car. Utilities must build billions in new substations and transmission lines to feed the data centers. Regulations let them spread that cost across all customers. This is a regressive tax. In Louisiana, residents are already battling high bills from air conditioning and storm recovery. Now, with a massive meta facility drawing more power than the entire city of New Orleans, they are effectively subsidizing the infrastructure for a trillion-dollar company's chatbot. Bloomberg's analysis of wholesale prices in places like Baltimore confirms the link. The closer you are to the data, the higher your rates. The International Energy Agency warns that by 2028, data centers could consume between 6 and 12% of total U.S. electricity. That sounds small, but that is the difference between a stable system and rolling blackouts. The bottleneck isn't power, it is the hardware that delivers it. Imagine you're a city planner, ready to build a new subdivision. You have the land, the permits, and now you need a transformer. The transformer is the gray box that steps the high voltage power down so your toaster doesn't explode. A few years ago, you could order one and get it in months.
So they're talking about power, right? And that essentially, like they said, 6 to 12% or whatever the number was that was just put up on the screen of extra usage in the area if a data center is utilizing the same electricity or electrical grid as the residential units, which is an extremely high amount of electricity being used. But I see an issue that's currently going on is that a lot of these chip manufacturers, NVIDIA, AMD, even the ones that build CPUs, so like your Intels, etc., and then even now RAM, instead of making things more efficient, they're just trying to make things more powerful to handle larger models, but more powerful and utilizing more cores or whatever that is being utilized to do the modeling and the training in AI is not going to help when you have these old infrastructures and old systems and old transformers, as they're going to get into now, that literally can't supply enough power. So then what's going to happen? Like they said, there's going to be blackouts. And if there's not going to be blackouts, there'll at least be times where you're not going to be able to have power. You're not going to be able to go play that game or watch that Netflix and chill with your girl or whatever you want to do, because these systems are so old and they have not built up the infrastructure. Do we have the money to build up the infrastructure in the United States as a federal government? I believe so, but I think our money is being used for other reasons. Whatever those reasons may be, honestly, I don't care that much because it seems like the rest of the country doesn't care as well. But as we keep trying to squeeze what we can out of the resources that we currently have, and as the population continues to grow, even though we say that it's stalling, it's only going to get worse, right? So let's continue.
Today, the lead time is 3 years. Why? Because the tech giants have bought them all. They are pre-ordering transformers by the thousands, effectively cornering the global supply chain. They need them now, and they're willing to pay premiums that a municipal utility or housing developer simply cannot match. We're seeing the emergence of ghost neighborhoods, rows of finished houses that sit empty for a year, not because there are no buyers, but because the developer cannot get the hardware to turn the lights on. The data center didn't just take the power, it stripped the industrial supply chain of the components needed to expand the grid for anyone else.
Sad.
And it's not just electricity. You're now competing with the servers for the very water in your tap. High-density chips generate a large amount of heat. To keep them from melting, data centers run massive cooling systems. A mid-sized facility can use 300,000 gallons of water a day, the same as 1,000 households. In water-stressed regions like Arizona or Oregon, this is a problem. Aquifers are draining. Farmers are seeing irrigation allocations cut.
So when it comes to cooling, let me bring this back to crypto. Crypto and the ASICs that are used and the old school, mining rigs with the GPUs that were used back in the day when GPU mining was a thing, required a lot of cooling as well. And here they're talking about how AI also requires a lot of cooling. Cooling requires a lot of water, right? So then water shortage, again, we're utilizing resources that we don't have a lot of, even though we think that we do. But water is going to be another thing. Now, with AI and the water usage, it's a little bit different. But with crypto, at least because it's a little bit more mature, in my opinion, in regards to how things are set up in data centers, we have liquid cooling. Liquid cooling requires water, yeah, because you still need a radiator to help cool the liquid that's coming through, but it's not as much. You don't necessarily need huge AC units anymore because there's hydro mining, right? Where you have your hydro miners, or you have submerged mining where you're using mineral oil, right? And then you're cooling that mineral oil, and it requires significantly less water. It's more efficient, right? And we talked about efficiency as well, how like with these chip manufacturers now, they care less about efficiency and more about just getting a more powerful product out because they can sell it to these businesses. Whereas in crypto, we care about efficiency because we want the most efficient thing so that we're using the least amount of electricity, which means not as much cooling, right? Not as much wattage, so that we can make the most profit. Versus AI is more about power. And I think that with it also being so popular, it's really going to get bad. And until it truly proves itself, not talking about people making silly agents at home and saying, oh, I think me building an OpenClaw agent is the greatest thing in the world, until they give OpenClaw access to your credit card, and OpenClaw is buying a whole bunch of crap that you don't need. Versus like something that is proven, like a peer-to-peer currency with a system that doesn't need you to have a bank, a trustless system like crypto, which is already proven and already has gone through its ups and downs. I mean, sure, you want to go ahead and take the risk with AI, be my guest. But I do believe that AI and how they're doing things could learn a thing or two from the crypto industry. Just my 2 cents, 4 cents.
Meanwhile, tech companies are securing long-term water rights, effectively privatizing the water table. As water becomes scarcer, the utility costs rise for everyone. People are competing with a server farm for the water in their tap. Eventually, it hits the grocery aisle. This is where AI stops just using resources and starts driving prices up. Retailers are rolling out electronic shelf labels, digital price tags updated instantly from a central server. Walmart plans to have them in 2,000 stores by the end of 2026. On the surface, it's about efficiency. No more employees with sticker guns. In reality, it lays the groundwork for price gouging in the physical world. We already see it with things like Uber. It rains, the price goes up. Now apply that to bread. Apply it to batteries during a hurricane warning. AI sensors track foot traffic in the store. Say there's a spike in demand on a Tuesday evening. The price of pasta sauce goes up 30 cents instantly. It's micro-inflation, invisible, relentless, and automatic. This is yield management, maximizing revenue on every item, applied to everyday essentials. McKinsey estimates these systems can boost revenue by 15%. Where does that money come from? The consumer. Fixed prices are dying. Now prices are whatever the machine thinks you'll pay. But it gets even more personal. The AI knows more about your bank account than you might realize. Online, AI models analyze your browsing history, your device type, your location, and your spending habits. They determine your willingness to pay.
So this is just my, I guess, most of it has been kind of factual, a lot of opinions. This is just my opinion. When it talks about price gouging based off of data, and now we're getting off of the whole power usage thing and into the data side, and how it's already affected Uber, because now if it rains based off of the data, then the price of your Uber is going to be more expensive. And then including this in every other aspect of your day-to-day life, utilizing AI and how it's very impactful. But you also have to include inflation, right? Which is something that is going to be essentially a standard when you're using fiat money, right? Because fiat money is essentially limitless. So when it's limitless, then the cost of goods are going to go up, which is essentially the definition of inflation. Costs go up, and it goes up because you have a limitless supply or infinite supply. And then there's other factors that are also involved in regards to inflation. But when you have something that is finite, not talking about meme coins, not talking about Doge, don't invest in that. Not talking about Shiba, not talking about Pepe and all the other crap that people want to promote. I'm talking about a finite supply like your Bitcoin, and it essentially, over time will continue to go up versus the dollar because of that inflation, because Bitcoin is finite. So you can hedge against some of these issues that will plague us all because of how AI utilizes data to create a world where businesses can price gauge or gauge or whatever based off of the data. You can sort of, leverage yourself against that. Gold, Bitcoin, things like that are finite. Gold, I don't know if it's truly a finite thing, but it's better than fiat. So just my, true opinion on this issue here. Make sure that you have some sort of true diversity of not just income, but assets to handle whatever craziness that's going to happen because of this AI influx. And like I said in the beginning, it is a bubble. I even said that crypto was a bubble. I'm a big crypto person, but crypto was a bubble, and that bubble burst a couple times, to be quite honest. That hasn't happened with AI just yet. And when it does happen, it's going to be even worse because there's a lot more businesses that are invested into AI.
Two people can look at the same pair of shoes and see different prices. If the AI detects that you are a high-spending shopper on a new device who rarely hesitates to buy, it'll show you a higher price. If it sees a bargain-conscious user on an older device, you might get a discount. This system erodes trust in the marketplace. You're no longer paying the market rate, but a personalized price determined by your digital profile. And then there's the hardware itself. You're paying a premium just for the scraps. The devices we rely on to access AI are getting more expensive. There's only so much capacity to make high-end chips, and building a semiconductor factory takes 5 years and around $20 billion. You can't just throw one up overnight. Right now, chip makers are shifting away from the processors and memory used in everyday devices to focus on the specialized chips AI needs, where the profits are far higher, and that affects the everyday consumer. Supply of standard RAM and SSDs is tightening. Samsung has already hiked memory prices. The result is what some are calling tech stagflation. The laptop that you buy next year will cost more than the one you bought last year, But it won't be noticeably faster. You'll pay a premium just to get what's left of the silicon scraps after the data centers have claimed the rest. And you're not just competing with the other companies anymore.
This is the final parallel before I just shut this off, because the video has gotten way over the time that I thought that it would be. And you guys can obviously watch this another time. Let me get the title of this. This is Your Rent is High, AI is the Reason. So it's the Infographic show. Watch it. But the final parallel from crypto and AI that I want to talk about is the increased price of RAM and SSDs. I brought it up a little bit before, but it talks about how like a lot of these companies are focusing on building up the hardware to support AI versus supporting retail investors, or not even investors, just retail people that want a computer, that want, a cell phone that's not going to cost them $2K, $3K dollars, or they want a gaming computer where they can buy a GPU that's not going to be $400 to $800 for a GPU, which I think is kind of ridiculous for a GPU, to be quite honest. And I think those numbers are even higher. I think I'm being kind of lenient with the pricing. But I remember there was a time when Bitcoin was super high, Ethereum was super high, and crypto mining was at an all-time high, and people were complaining that miners were buying up all the GPUs. Miners. I'm talking about not big warehouses buying up GPUs like what's going on right now, or big data centers. I'm just talking about me. Like when I had 10, 20 GPUs, people were complaining about just your at-home miners having a whole bunch of GPUs and how that was increasing the price. Whereas now, if you look at those prices, it's crazy. And I don't see as much negativity or discourse amongst a lot of these big companies, your Metas, your Googles, right, your Amazons, whatever, those big companies, and people complaining about them buying up all the GPUs that you all need for your computers so that you can game, so that you can do your work, so that you can whatever. I don't see that same discourse. Now, it may be somewhat similar in that some people are like, oh, this AI crap is increasing the prices, but it's not the same sort of negativity that crypto got. And I just feel like crypto got so much negativity from the hardware space, which is what they're talking about here, versus AI, where they are really gulping up everything from RAM as well to SSDs to GPUs, like literally everything, and making the cost of literally all hardware based technology egregiously expensive. And people are just okay with it. They're like, well, whatever. I mean, the S&P or whatever is still doing well. My retirement is doing well because of these things. And they're not looking at it long term, where, mind you, every 6 months you're going to need something. Maybe not need, but technology is going to keep improving, where your stuff gets more outdated every 6 months. And what's going to happen is you're going to need that upgrade in the future, and you're not going to be able to afford that upgrade. And because everything is moving at speeds that you can't keep up with financially, then you're going to complain about it. That's where I have an issue. I feel like that same level of discourse against crypto, where at least with crypto, if you're not investing in stupid meme coins, at least if you were into crypto and a part of the crypto community, etc., and had Bitcoin, you would still have some value in it. Versus this, unless you're directly invested in an AI stock, you don't really have any true value. You're just feeding them. If you have a pro plan with OpenAI or a pro plan with Claude, whatever thing you use, I don't know if Grok costs money on Twitter. I don't use Twitter, but if you're paying them, you're not getting much value out of that, are you? Are you selling whatever that you make? Are you making an AI wrapper on a website and selling a tool? I mean, that's what I do. It's part of my business. So yeah, I'm making money, but are you personally doing that? most people would say no. So again, like, you're not getting as much value, but then you want to criticize other technology from the past that had similar effects to what AI is doing, but not as much value, right? So that's my final wrap up of this all. I mean, I would love to finish watching this, but I've watched this before. It is a great video. I do think that the parallels between AI and crypto are also very, very interesting. Both utilize essentially a level of proof of work. AI is much different, right? But feel free to watch it. Feel free to complain and say, well, this is totally different. AI is going to change the world. And you can look through your rose covered lenses and glasses or whatever and believe that this is going to be your savior, or you can come at it with a sane mind as somebody who, understands history, understands bubbles, and understands technology to see, hey, maybe we should slow down a bit. Maybe we should focus on some other things. Maybe we should focus on efficiency, whatever, to try to make sure that this doesn't blow up like the last couple blow ups. Anyways, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and peace.